Hey folks, it's Keith Beardsley of the Beardsley Real Estate Team, www.beardsleyteam.ca. Here today with a video to basically help sellers get ready, get organized, and be prepared to get on the market. So what we're going to look at today are some of the things that you as a seller should do, and in some cases, some of the things that as a seller you should know. We all know real estate can be different on occasions. So if you're thinking of selling, I guess the easiest thing to say is know why and know what you're doing. You would think if you're going to sell your house, you know why, but sometimes it's pretty much up in the air. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Those are the sales that are very tough because no one really has a game plan. So get yourself organized. Sit down with a sheet of paper. Make two columns. One says, yes, we should sell, and the other side says, no, we shouldn't. And sit down with your spouse, whoever's in your family. Make a list on both sides, all the positive reasons, the pros, why you should sell, and all the cons, why you shouldn't. And in the end, you're going to look at that and you're going to say, yeah, all the pros are definitely on this side. We have to sell. That's step one. And then at that point, start looking. Go online. You can go through my website. If you go to my website, Beardsley Team, there's a link that says search for listings. Click on there. That will bring up everything that's on the market right now. Look at your area. Look at your community. What are houses like you're selling for? Look at the pictures. Now, how does your house stack up versus the pictures on these houses? So there's lots of prep time really that needs to go into this. Now, if you're living in a bungalow, don't look at prices for 2 stories. If you're on a small, let's say, half-acre lot, don't go looking at houses with 35 or 40 acres. You have to compare oranges to oranges. So you need to do your homework. And I suggest that you do that probably maybe even a month before you're getting ready to go on the market, because all of that has to be done. You have to have your mind in the right place. And then what I want you to do is take a few minutes, walk outside of your house, go across the street, look at your house. What do you see? Is there anything out of place? If you were a buyer, is there something that you are looking at that might turn you off? Because when a buyer pulls up to your house, they've already started making up their mind. If they don't like the way it looks from the outside, the odds are they're going into your house with a negative mindset. You don't want that. You want it to be positive. So look at the outside of your house. Fix anything that sort of is jarring or doesn't look good. That's one of the first things you're going to have to do. Look at your location, because your price is going to reflect where you are. Are you an hour and a half outside of the city? It's not going to be the same price as somebody living half an hour outside of the city. So look at all these positives, all the negatives, and keep that in mind when you're shopping online. Don't compare, for instance, let's say a bungalow in Russell, compare that to a bungalow in, Morrisburg. No comparison whatsoever. So you have to do, to a certain extent, what we do in our business. Look at comparable properties like yours and get an idea as to price. Another thing to keep in mind is that pandemic is over. Those crazy days are over. Those crazy prices are over. So prices have settled back down a little bit. This doesn't mean you're losing money. You never had that money. Virtually every house in the Ottawa area probably went up 40, 50, sometimes more percent, sometimes 100%, depending on where they live. So you're already way ahead of the game than where you would have been if it was an average market, which in Ottawa means about a 2% increase per year. So you're doing good money-wise, but let's be careful. Let's not get silly. Anticipate what you might get. And that brings up another point. Besides knowing your market, you need to know your finances. Exactly how much do you owe if you have a mortgage? Big deal. That's got to be paid off. What is the penalty clause on paying off your mortgage early? How many people even know you have a penalty clause? But you do. If you pay your mortgage off early, most financial institutions have a penalty clause built in. Now, sometimes it's not a huge amount of money, but I have seen some mortgages where, you pay this one off early. Well, there's a $20,000 penalty fee. You have to factor that into how much money you're going to make when you sell your house. All right, so these are things that you have to start to consider. The next step, and it really depends on your plans. If you're going to buy another house, now's the point to go out and get pre-approved, just like a buyer does. First-time buyer has to get pre-approved. Shop around. Don't necessarily use the same financial institution you use now. When you go into a bank and you say, I'm looking for a mortgage, they're only going to show you the mortgages for that one bank. They're not going to let you know what the competition is doing. So shop around, get an idea, talk to people, get a good mortgage broker. Ask a mortgage broker, because they generally tend to be a little bit less expensive interest-wise than banks. Talk to a mortgage broker. See what they say. All right. This is your chance as a seller to prepare and try and get yourself the best deal possible. So you've done all of that. You're pre-approved. Your next step, find an agent you trust. That's all it is. Someone you trust, because this is the person that you're giving an opportunity not only to sell your home, but you're giving this agent an opportunity to work with you. And you're going to have to work with that agent. So trust is a key word. When you're interviewing the agent, get a sense as to whether or not this is someone you want to work with. There's a lot of gimmicks out there. You've probably seen them all. They're on TV all the time. You do this and I can guarantee this, and you've seen some of the ones on the signs, guaranteed sale and so on. It's a gimmick. It works for that agent. But never expect an agent's going to lose money because they're offering you some special deal. It doesn't work that way. And I know all this stuff. I've been doing this for a long time. Find someone you trust, because for the next number of months, to a certain extent, your life is in their hands, because it will evolve around showings, advertising, photographs by photographers, and so on. So it will become a little stressful, and part of our job is to lower that stress as much as we can. So when you interview an agent, ask them, are they a buying agent or a listing agent? Most people just think every real estate agent's the same. We're not. There are some people like myself who work with sellers probably 80-90% of the time. And yes, we help our sellers to find properties and so on if they're looking for another one. And yes, we do have buyers that we work with. But the bulk of our time is spent working with a seller. So we know negotiating offers from the seller's viewpoint. Buyer agents, they're used to negotiating contracts from the buyer's perspective, not your perspective. Find out if the agent that you're working with is predominantly, in my case, I would say a country agent or a city agent. I work the country. That's all I work. All right. I like the rural and semi-rural areas around Ottawa. And in this case, most of my business is going to lie between the 416 and the 417 because that's the area that I like to work. I live in the country. I know all about septic systems, wells, and things that can go wrong and so on. And I have all sorts of inspectors that deal with that stuff. City agent, country agent makes a difference. Buyer agent, listing agent, or selling agent makes a difference. And yes, there are always people do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I mean, there's also that category as well. There's lots of different approaches to real estate out there. So these are the types of things that you should keep in mind. You know, you'll see free market evaluation. Pretty much every agent does those. There may be a couple that charge, but really, I can't see the point of that. Free market evaluation. Sounds like good. Keep in mind that old school training, old school agents are trained to go and give you that market evaluation, bring all the paper with them, and try and get you to sign on the spot. Nothing wrong with that. Not my approach. I prefer to go out, give you the market evaluation so we know what numbers we're looking at, answer whatever question you have, and then I always say to you, what would you like to do? If you say, I want to sign my papers right away, we can do that. If you say, we need to talk this over, and look at me, I'm a senior. This is a very big decision for many, many seniors. You should take a little bit of time to talk it over. It's a big decision. It's probably your largest financial investment. So it's also your largest financial decision. Take your time. I never pressure people. I don't arm twist. I've been doing this a long time, and that's not the type of thing I do. And again, awards, my goodness, every office gives out awards for almost nothing. So every agent can run around and say, yes, I'm an award-winning agent. That's nice. Doesn't mean anything for you. Doesn't help you any. Now, on top of all of this, I think the biggest thing to remember is that when you're pricing your property, it's got to be accurate. It's got to take into consideration negatives around it, right? The rule in real estate is location, location, location. Always wins out over everything else. And now with the government going back to a 3-4 day work week and so on, commuting time is now a big deal. Right? All of us out here in the country, we were swamped with buyers coming out of the city during the pandemic, during COVID-19. Now they're starting to be called back to work. So people who were quite happy to live an hour out of the city a few years ago are now facing an hour's drive in, an hour's drive out. So keep that in mind. Be realistic on your pricing. And that's part of our job, is to help you do that as well. So don't forget, do your homework. Number one, always do your homework. If you've got questions, my number's here, 613-552-0851. I would also suggest that you go into our website, www.beardsleyteam.ca. There's a ton of information, and even more importantly, there are dozens and dozens of client reviews that show how we work for you, and we really do. So there you go, folks. That's it for now. If you're thinking of selling, wish you the very best of luck. And of course, I also hope that you will call me to try and be your agent and help you to sell your home. It's Keith with Century 21, wishing you a great day.